All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely. Always ready to explore some cutting-edge AI stuff.
Well, today we're going to tackle something called RAGCache.
Sounds interesting.
It is. It's all about making AI systems that use external knowledge, like way faster.
So when those AIs got to search through tons of documents to answer a question.
Exactly. RAGCache is like giving your AI a memory upgrade. Right.
Makes sense.
We've got the research paper right here with us.
Awesome. Instruction manual time.
You got it. Those IG systems, they're powerful, but
They can get bogged down, right?
yeah, kind of like imagine trying to read a whole library to answer one question.
Totally. Overload. The researchers found that, with the LaMMA27B model, processing times would hit a full second once you went over 4,000 tokens.
A whole second.
Yeah, I know. To us, it doesn't sound like much.
But for AI, that's a lifetime.
Exactly. It's a major bottleneck. And that's where RAGCache comes in. It's designed to fix that by pre-processing the information and storing it in this knowledge tree.
Okay, a knowledge tree sounds kind of whimsical for something so technical.
Right. But it's more than just facts on branches, trust me.
I figured as much.
It's multi-level. It's designed to align with how AI actually thinks.
Oh, interesting.
The order of information that's really important for AI. And this tree structure, it optimizes that.
So it's like a super efficient filing system for AI, like in a library where you can find any book in seconds.
Precisely. Now, here's one of the really cool things about RAGCache. It has this PGDSF policy.
PGDES. Okay, now you're just making up words.
No, seriously. This is what decides what information is important enough to be in that knowledge tree in the first place.
Okay, so break it down for me. What does this PGDSF even stand for?
Right, so it stands for popularity, growth, density, size, and frequency.
Ooh, that's a mouthful.
Right. It's like RAGCache's super intelligent librarian.
A librarian, how so?
It looks at how often certain pieces of information are needed, how big they are, how long they'll take for the AI to process, and it factors all that in when deciding what gets stored in the knowledge tree.
So like a popularity contest for data, but with some practical considerations thrown in.
Exactly. It makes sense that information that's used all the time should be easy to access. But what about those less popular bits of data, the ones that might still be important?
Yeah, good point. How does RAGCache handle those?
That's the genius of the PGDSF policy. It's not just about what's hot right now. It also looks at how information might be used in the future.
So it factors in potential growth, like a librarian who could predict which books will be in high demand next month.
You got it. And there's another trick up RAGCache's sleeve. Dynamic, speculative, pipelining.
Ooh, that sounds fancy. Lay it on me.
So basically, it allows RAGCache to feed information to the AI even before the whole search is done.
Wait, so it doesn't wait for the entire search to finish?
Nope. It's like starting to read the first few chapters of a book while you're still browsing the shelves.
That's a great analogy. But what if those early results turn out to be wrong? Isn't that a waste of the AI's time?
Good question. RAGCache is smart about that. It strikes a balance. It wants to be fast, but it avoids wasting the AI's effort if those early results are a dud.
So efficiency without sacrificing accuracy sounds like a win-win. But how do we know this all actually works? I mean, does a RAGCache actually make things faster?
You bet it does. The researchers put it head-to-head against some other top systems like vLLM and SGLang, and the results were pretty amazing.
I'm on the edge of my seat here. Spill a tea. How much faster are we talking?
Okay, so they tested it on the MMLU dataset. It's a tough one, covers lots of different topics.
Okay, so a real challenge.
And RAGCache just blew the competition out of the water. In some tests, it was up to 4 times faster.
4 times? Whoa! That's not just a little speed boost?
Right. And get this, it could handle way more requests without slowing down.
Like having a brand new super fast computer. This is impressive stuff. Makes you wonder, where else could this be used?
Oh, you're right. This is just the beginning. We've barely scratched the surface of what RAGCache can do. And they even tested it with much bigger language models, like the massive LaMMA270B. And, well, the results were even more mind-blowing.
Okay, now you're just teasing us.
A little bit. But that's a story for the next part of our deep dive.
All right. I guess we'll leave our listeners hanging for a bit. But trust me, folks, it's worth the wait.
Okay, so ready to talk about those bigger language models, the ones that make LaMMA27B look tiny.
Oh yeah, bring on the big leagues. You mentioned the researchers tested RAGCache with something called, what was it, Mistral 8x7B. What's the deal with that one?
Well, Mistral is pretty fascinating. It uses this mixture of experts approach. So instead of one big AI brain, imagine a team of specialized experts. Each one is super skilled at a particular task.
Ooh, like an AI Justice League. One's a master of language, another cracks codes. Maybe one's even predicting the stock market.
Exactly. So depending on the task, the AI calls on the most relevant expert, right? And Mistral 8x7b, it's got 8 of these expert brains, and it activates 2 of them for each piece of information it processes.
So it's like having the right tool for the job. Makes sense. But how did this AI dream team perform with RAGCache? Did they use the same MMLU dataset?
Yep, same data set to keep things fair. And they made it even tougher by simulating different levels of user traffic. Imagine a sudden wave of people all asking their AI assistants some really complex questions.
Kind of like what happens when a new game releases and everyone's trying to find DA. So how much traffic could RAGCache handle before things started to slow down?
All right, so they set a goal, right? The time to get the first piece of the answer, we call that TTFT, couldn't be more than 5 times slower than when things were calm. Basically saying, even if things get 5 times crazier, the AI can't take more than 5 times longer to start responding.
Okay, that makes sense. So did RAGCache pass the stress test?
Oh, it did. Even when the requests were coming in hot and heavy, RAGCache kept those TTFT times nice and low, consistently under 1.4 seconds.
Wow, okay, so it can handle the heat. What about the other systems, vLLM and SGLang? How do they hold up under pressure?
Well, vLLM, unfortunately, kind of hit its limit. Once the request rate went beyond a certain point, its performance tanked, and it couldn't meet that TTFT goal.
So vLLM choked under pressure. What about SGLang? Did it fare any better?
SGLang, it put up a good fight, especially since it was running on those powerful H800 GPUs, lots of memory for caching. It's like having a much larger workspace, Definitely helped it stay organized and efficient.
But could it keep up with RAGCache? Even with the fancy hardware?
Even with that advantage, RAGCache was still delivering answers between 1.2 and 2.6 times faster than SGLang.
So RAGCache wins again. But we haven't talked about the real heavy hitter yet, have we? What about Llama 270B, that massive language model? Did they test RAGCache with that one?
They did, and as you might expect, the results were pretty remarkable.
I bet. I'm picturing RAGCache just dominating the competition.
Well, at lower request rates, RAGCache boosted Llama 270B's speed by 1.4 to 2.1 times compared to vLLM. But the key takeaway here is vLLM simply couldn't keep up once the requests started pouring in. It just couldn't maintain that consistent response time we talked about.
So even a powerful AI like Llama 270B benefits from having RAGCache on its team. It's like having a coach that helps you reach peak performance. But all this talk about speed is great, but I'm curious. How does RAGCache actually pull this off? What's happening under the hood?
One of the key mechanisms is something called cache-aware reordering. It's how RAGCache manages those incoming requests. Think of it like a priority system, but instead of just going in the order they arrive, it gets a bit more strategic.
So it's not just first come, first served.
Right. It uses a special formula to determine which requests get priority, like how much information for a given request is already cached in the system.
So if the info's already there, the request gets bumped to the front of the line. That's smart.
Exactly. It also looks at how much new computation will be needed. The less new processing required, the higher the priority.
So it's all about being as efficient as possible.
Yeah.
Prioritizing the tasks that can be done the fastest.
Precisely. This is especially important when the system is under a heavy load. Helps keep those TTFT times low and ensures that RAGCache can handle more requests without getting bogged down.
This is all starting to click. But what about those requests that do require a lot of new processing? Do they just get left behind?
Not at all. RAGCache has a fairness mechanism built in to prevent that. It sets a time limit, so even if a request is complex, it'll eventually get its turn.
So it's like saying, we'll get to your request ASAP, but we got to make sure everyone else is being served too.
Exactly. RAGCache strikes a balance between efficiency and fairness, making sure all requests are handled appropriately.
This cache-aware reordering, it's pretty clever. Keeps everything running smoothly. But is RAGCache perfect? Are there any limitations we should be aware of?
Well, no system is perfect, and RAGCache is no exception. To understand its limitations, we need to look at how it handles document sequences.
Document sequences. Sounds like we're getting into the weeds here.
We are, but it's important to understand these nuances. Remember how we talked about the knowledge tree and how the order of information matters?
Right, like a well-organized library where every book has its place.
Exactly. Well, it turns out that this order dependence can sometimes create challenges for RAGCache. Let me explain. Okay, so imagine you have two requests, right? And they both need information from the same three documents.
Okay, 3 documents. Got it.
But they need them in slightly different orders.
I see where you're going with this.
And RAGCache, being all about efficiency, it might have already cached those documents as one sequence.
So it's like having a pre-made sandwich, but someone wants the lettuce and tomato swapped.
Perfect analogy. Not a huge deal, but it means some rearranging, right?
Yeah.
And while RAGCache can handle these variations, it might require a little extra work, might need to recompute some parts.
So it's not enough to just have the ingredients. You got to know the order they go in to make the right sandwich.
Exactly. That's where prefix awareness comes in. RAGCache needs to be smart about not just what's cached, but also how it's arranged. Avoid unnecessary reprocessing.
Makes sense. Sounds like a lot for RAGCache to keep track of.
It is, but it's designed to handle this kind of complexity. That knowledge tree structure and the PGDSF policy we talked about, they work together to minimize these situations where things need to be rearranged.
Okay, that's good to know. But it sounds like it's not a perfect system.
Well, no system is perfect, right? There are always areas for improvement.
True enough. But even with those limitations, RAGCache seems like a pretty big step forward for AI. It could change how we interact with AI tools,
I think so too. Imagine search engine results that are not only super relevant, but also, instant.
Oh, yeah. No more waiting for pages to load.
Or chatbots that can really understand what you need and respond naturally, like you're talking to a person.
It's like the AI is actually thinking in real time, not just giving canned responses.
Exactly. And think about personalized learning. AI that adapts to your learning style and gives you the info you need when you need it.
Like having a personal tutor who knows exactly how you learn best.
Right. The possibilities are huge.
Definitely exciting times for AI.
They are. But with any powerful tech, we got to be responsible, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Make sure these systems are designed and used ethically so they benefit everyone.
Well said. It's not enough to just make AI faster and smarter. We got to make sure it's used for good.
Couldn't agree more. It's a conversation we need to keep having as AI keeps evolving.
Okay, so to wrap up our deep dive into RAGCache, what are the key takeaways? What should our listeners remember?
Well, first off, RAGCache is a game changer for making AI faster and more efficient, especially when it comes to using external knowledge. It's like giving AI a serious speed boost.
And it does this by using that multi-level knowledge tree,
Yeah.
the PGDSF policy for prioritizing information, and that dynamic speculative pipelining to give the AI a head start.
Exactly. And yeah, it have limitations, but RAGCache is a big step forward. It's moving us closer to AI that's smarter, more responsive, more useful.
It really is an exciting time to be following the world of AI. RAGCache is just one example of the amazing innovation happening right now.
Absolutely. And hey, next time you're impressed by an AI that can answer a tough question in a snap, remember, RAGCache might be the secret ingredient making it happen.
That's a great point. Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today. But until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.